Welcome to the Animation Station Podcast, your home for discussions and debates about all things animation. Each week, we'll rank, review, and revel in animated shows from yesterday and today, and from around the world. So grab your Acme slingshot, set your mobile suit to autopilot, and put on your mouse ears. The Animation Station Podcast begins now.
It's like that Buffy episode. You know, remember the one where it was all singing the musical episode?
Oh,
Once
yeah.
More with Feeling. That's what this is. This whole episode's going to be Once More with Feeling.
Once more with proper pronunciation.
Welcome to the Animation Station Podcast. My name is Josh.
I'm Gavin.
And joining us today, we have a very special guest, Mr. Tony Simonetta.
Hello.
Hi, Tony. We're so glad to have you on our little podcasty show today. Josh, you want to tell everybody how we know Tony?
Yes, I followed Tony on Instagram, mainly because he worked at Rooster Teeth, so I was like, I like this guy.
He's a Rooster
and I'd
Teeth
seen a
stalker.
bunch of his Disney art, and I was like, oh yeah, this guy's pretty cool. And I happened to see, when we were at D23, I happened to see a post that you were on a plane, and I was like, I wonder where he's going. Heading out to D23, and you were like, yes. I was like, let's meet up in the park. And meet up we did.
We did. We'd only been there for less than an hour, and we connected with Tony, and we ended up hanging out with you pretty much the whole weekend, on and off.
Yeah, it was a very successful Audible. It's I was out there by myself, so it was very easy for me to just decide to do something.
Right.
And I went to the previous D23 solo, which there's perks to going solo and being able to walk around by yourself and not be beholden to anybody, but the lines at D23 and the park hopping was definitely a much better group experience.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
Now, Tony, can you tell us a little bit about what you do?
Yes, currently my title, I work at Rooster Teeth, which is a kind of a production studio and internet-based entertainment company here in Austin, Texas. And I'm the lead designer of consumer products, which is fancy business card speak for I'm a graphic designer and I design merch. So at Rooster Teeth, we have loads of podcasts, animated shows, full-length feature films, like internet Let's Play, Achievement Hunter people, and everybody gets shirts and coasters and mouse pads and various merch. And so I'm kind of leading a team of designers that designs all that currently.
Awesome. Did you design Bum Cheese?
No.
Oh.
Tobin Lee did Bum Cheese. He's our resident pen and ink illustrator style guy. So I'm more of a traditional graphic designer. Like, I have less pen to paper skill than I do with digital design, layout, typography experience. And the guy that designed that, he's like one of those people that you can just tell him something. 5 minutes later, it's exactly what you want. He's drawn it out on his Wacom pad.
Nice.
So he's a good addition to the team. We have a nice, well-rounded team.
That's awesome. So what is your kind of backstory in graphic design? How did you get into that? Is that what you went to school for?
Eventually, yes. So I went to school, University of Texas at Austin, and I kind of came out of high school being a creative type but undeclared. So my freshman year was one of those stereotypical undeclared kids. And I found out that the University of Texas had a program that was a kind of an interdisciplinary design program that was all different disciplines. And so I was like, okay, I don't know what I want to do. I know I'm interested in art. I was an art kid in high school. Let's figure this out. And I found out that required kind of a year of pre-design, which is all your life drawing and art history classes, getting all that out of the way. So once I kind of pointed myself in that direction, I applied for the design program. And theirs is kind of a more specific design program where there's a small group of kids, probably 16 to 20, and you go through a 3-year program altogether, and they're studio classes, as opposed to UT has a lot of 100 people classes and stadium seating. So we had to apply, create a portfolio, and go through an interview process. And then once you're in the program, it's 3 years, and you go to class about 8 hours a day with the same 16 to 20 people, and you kind of work as a team, critique each other, And by the time you get through the 3-year program, everyone has kind of found their niche, and you kind of apply to the school for money to kind of your senior year say, hey, I'm going to be one of these. I'm using my senior year to work on this project. I need some money to do it. And then you present at the end of the year and have a big gallery show or something like that. So I kind of fell sideways into it. And once I got into the program, they work with you to determine like what your strengths are. Some of us became furniture designers out of my class. We have an audio engineer. I'm a product designer. There's a couple artists, straight up photographers and artists. So you kind of you run the gamut in there. So we did hand lettering, typesetting, printing press, furniture, lighting. You did a little bit of everything. You see what sticks.
That's pretty cool. It's kind of a liberal approach. I like that. That sounds like it was really. Do you feel like you got a lot of value out of all those other disciplines?
I had a very different college experience than a lot of my friends when they talk about. Like I had my freshman year. I did my, biologies and my maths and my social sciences and all that. But beyond that, my day-to-day was a studio class from 8 to 12 every day and another studio class from 2 to 6. So we would go in and create like from 8 to 12 or 2 to 6. And in that time, depending on what we were learning, the professor would take us to a place where we kind of learn hands-on learning as opposed to like learn these things, cram them in your head, spit them out on the test, like churn and burn, kind of that kind of college experience that I know a lot of people had.
Right. Wow, that's cool. That sounds like a great program.
Yeah, I think it prepared me just to deal with the variety of different things that real life, quote unquote real life, spits at you when you leave the safety bubble of college.
Right. So did you go right from college into being a professional designer?
Baby steps. So part of the program is your second and third years. You have to get internships for each of the semesters to get real world experience, and you kind of apply through the school. The school gets you credit for that, and you get to go and take one of your studio sessions. Like you probably go 10 or 15 hours a week to be an intern. So I had an internship at an architecture firm where I was learning informational and wayfinding design that I was kind of interested in. So towards the end of my tenure at UT, I started being really interested in theme park design and like the nature of wayfinding. So you enter into the theme park, and a lot of people attack theme parks differently. Like some people go in clockwise, some people go counterclockwise, people go big rides, little rides, people go shops. So I was kind of fascinated with the idea that theme parks like Disneyland, like Walt Disney World, you go in and you kind of don't notice the subtle ways they move you on their own, so that everyone doesn't conglomerate in one spot, and so that this is far enough away from that, so that when you're in line for this, you can see this next thing. So I became really fascinated with the wayfinding. So I went to this architecture firm, and I was kind of an intern there for a while. And then the next jump is kind of what got me into product design. My next internship was with Seiko Watches. They had an office in Austin, and they had a lot of licenses, which meant that they made watches for Harry Potter with Warner Brothers, Disney, Hello Kitty. They had Mattel, so they did Barbie and G.I. Joe stuff. And I'd never designed product quite like watches, but I was a big Disney nerd at that point, and I was kind of in love with a lot of the shows and properties that they were dealing with. So they kind of just took me on and showed me the product side. And that kind of opened the door to careers.
And you're a Disney freelancer, correct?
Correct. Yeah, it's kind of a weird situation how that works out, because I'm not, on a payroll. They treat me kind of like a contractor, where there's a job that they think I might be suited for. I get reached out to, and I kind of work with the on-staff designer. They kind of send me any assets I need, and then I turn in the job, and I'm kind of cut loose at that point. So if I need more jobs, I can kind of harass somebody to see if there's anything available, or if they have something available for me. They can reach out to me, which is super helpful because I do have a full-time job and a family and lots of other things. So sometimes I'm just too busy, as much as I want to freelance, to do extra work. I have to choose between extra work and seeing kids, or extra work and sleep. Yeah. And sometimes you cannot choose. You don't get to choose.
So how did you go from Seiko to the Disney? Like, how did that process go?
So yeah, the Seiko, the watch industry, if any of you are listening are wearing watches, you're in the minority. The watch industry is kind of a slowly sinking ship in the $15 watches to $45 watch range. The normal amount of people don't wear watches anymore. So this watch company was kind of trimming down, let's say. I got laid off from that watch company. I jumped to a different division of Seiko. Same thing happened there. I jumped to a different watch company that was based out of New York. All kind of doing the same thing. I did licensed product, a lot of Disney product in all of these companies. And just the watch industry as a whole was kind of sinking in the mid-2000s. And I ended up at a watch company that I was at for 5 or 6 years, where we had the license to do Converse, the shoe brand, and Columbia, the outdoor brand. I did most of their watches. So I was in year like 10, 11, 12 of designing watches. And I was like about to start a family, and I said, I cannot keep hopping jobs anymore. I've been kind of in the same field for a while. I was talking to my wife about trying to figure out if we could, at that point we were like, should we move to Orlando and see if I can just knock on everyone's doors and get a job designing for Disney? And she said, let's go ahead and see what you can do. So it was a D23 2013, I believe. I decided to kind of make a run at figuring out if I could do some Disney work. And I kind of put up one of those bulletin boards on my wall that you see in all the detective shows and all the things, when I was trying to connect the dots and see who was important in the Disney design group, which is the group who I was kind of trying to break into. They do all the theme park merchandise and things that I'm the most interested in. So I paid for the expensive LinkedIn and wrote down everybody's names, and I came up with like a good list of people to attack. And I created a website like specifically for getting the job, a portfolio site that kind of focused on, spec Disney work I had done, Disney watches I had done in my career. And I went out to D23 with like the express sole purpose of meeting the people on the list. Some of them were artists that had signings. Some of them were at panels. Some of them were just going to be there. And I was, following their social media to see where they would show up and casually run into them. So I did that. I went and I handed out business cards. I talked to people about how they got their jobs, tried not to be pushy, tried not to be too annoying, and just kind of explained, kind of trying to figure out how this all works. Everyone was more than nice, and kind of that was that. The D23 happened, and it was fun. And it wasn't probably until about 3 months later I got a random email that was someone who was looking at my watches, and watches was the entryway again. And they said, hey, we're doing a bunch of watches. You've been doing this for 10 years. How would you like to do some theme park watches? And I said, anyway, nice. Trying to get out of watches, but anything foot in the door, let's do it. So I did a round of watches with them, and I was able to kind of churn those out really quickly. So they were pleased with that. So I started kind of casually emailing shirt designs I had. I was like, hey, if you have shirts, let me do that. And that kind of went nowhere. And then like 3 months later, there was a line of shirts. They were like, hey, let's try you on shirts.
Nice.
And I did a line of like a small line of it was like Americana Mickey shirts, and they were like, okay, we're going to keep coming back to you now. Let us know what you can and can't do. And so I opened the conversation with 2 or 3 Disney designers that were super helpful, because it's hard to work with somebody that's not in the office, sending the right assets and dealing with my questions. And then they kind of played to my strengths. Once they knew what I could and couldn't do, they pitched projects at me, and if I was like, I don't think that's kind of my wheelhouse, they would say, okay, we'll come back to you with the next thing. And eventually kind of found my footing and got into a good cadence of doing projects. And it gave me the release valve I needed, where it wasn't watches anymore, and I got my creative juices going again.
So now you just need to start throwing them your theme park attraction designs, and they'll be like, oh, hey, we're doing a new attraction. Tony, you want to do it?
Yeah, I'm going to be a backseat Imagineer. I can do that.
And Tony, awesome. You designed shirts for Disney for Pandora World, and what was the one in March?
Pandora World TM, yeah, that's what it's called. What? Sorry.
What was?
And some of the logos for March Magic.
March Magic.
Yeah, so like
March Magic.
The most recognizable. Like I said, I haven't done a ton of Disney work. I've done enough to make me happy, and the biggest projects that are the most visible were like the March Magic team T-shirts. I think I did 7 teams one year and 6 teams last year.
Mm-hmm.
And then the biggest program to date is the 28 in Maine menswear line that they launched at Disney World at the Co-op Marketplace.
Mm-hmm.
I working with that team of designers, and they wanted Disney shirts that don't necessarily scream, hey, this is a Mickey Mouse Walt Disney World shirt. They were kind of for true fans, kind of a lot of in-world references, a lot of side nods to extinct attractions, and kind of a more boutique taste, $40 t-shirts, fancier things. And I collect a lot of Disney t-shirts, but I don't like wearing overtly Walt Disney World 2017 t-shirts. I like the more obscure shirts from the international parks, or some of the bootleg shirts that are online. I find them really fascinating because they go places that sometimes Disney won't let you go with the characters. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what this line was turning into, and I was super excited. So I did a lot of t-shirts for that and a lot of graphics, and I noticed they've just turned them into pins. I bought my own pins on eBay yesterday.
Nice.
I don't know, sometimes they buy the art from me and it disappears into the machine. And then I'll see a product launch, and I'm like, oh, that's a shirt that's a graphic I did for a T-shirt. It is now a coaster, or it's now, a whiskey jug, or something like that. So once they own the art, it's theirs, and I'm totally happy with it.
Wow.
So that was kind of the biggest one until Pandora. They reached out to me, and they're like, Pandora's going to have a ton of merch when it opens. So they're building out a team that kind of can do everything. So that when Pandora opened, there would be fully stocked stores, and everything would be in-world. Everything had to go through an extra layer of approval, not only with Disney, but with James Cameron and Lightstorm. So they were kind of putting all hands on deck for Pandora, and I was super lucky to get thrown a lot of those projects ahead of time and signed NDAs and got to see a lot of concept art beforehand. That was really fun. I have not been out to Pandora yet, but I had friends that went out there, and I FaceTimed them while they were in the store and had them walk around and look at every rack. I was like, oh, that one's mine. Oh, no, I didn't do that one. So that's amazing. That was a super fun experience. I still think that's the best experience. Like when we were out at D23, we would be in line for a thing, and I would see someone walk by and say, hey, that's a shirt I did. Yeah. So that's the getting paid was nice, but that's kind of the end goal of this whole thing, is to have someone appreciate it like you do, spend their money on it, and put it on their person. Right. That's kind of the end game for me.
Yeah, I was with you a couple times over that weekend where you pointed out, oh, that's a shirt that I did back in whatever year, and I haven't seen that one in a while something like that.
I remember you guys talking about it, and that's when, because it's one of those things, like when you buy a new car, you automatically see that car everywhere.
Exactly.
Yeah. There's another blue Toyota Yaris that works at Paycom.
Oh, really?
Seen it? Yeah, it's
I haven't
so
seen
stupid.
That's my new car, Tony. I just got a new Toyota.
But yeah, you guys were talking about that, and then I kept seeing those Disney sports shirts from
March Magic,
and I was like, oh my gosh, well, I didn't know this was a thing, and they're just everywhere.
Oh, that's funny. So we're kind of following this great journey of your career. So I assume the next phase is kind of Rooster Teeth, right?
Yeah. So I was working at the watch company, still doing full-time watches to get actual money to live and pay mortgage. And I was getting my creative fix on the side doing that. And I was still kind of burnt out on the watch thing. I was like, we determined at that point, by this point we had my first kid. I had a daughter, and I didn't totally want to move all the way to Orlando away from family. There's the whole school systems to deal with, actual real life boring stuff. But I was getting a lot of good Disney work. And I was like, you know what? It feels good to work on something you're passionate about, and I'm kind of fired up about again. So what else can I do? What kind of moves can I make here in Austin to kind of do that? And Rooster Teeth was kind of a company that I got into while I was in college in the early 2000s, the early aughts. And they had a show called Red versus Blue, which was an early machinima show where they used the game of Halo, to create scenes, and they voice dubbed over them and kind of made it a web series. It was like a pre-YouTube video series. So I think they still call it the longest running internet animated series, because it's been running since before YouTube and before all that existed. They used to make QuickTime files and upload them onto the servers. You'd have to download them and find players, and So everyone did that back then.
I remember those days.
And so that was a company that everyone got into. And they have a podcast that they started doing shortly thereafter, as soon as Red vs. Blue got popular. And I started listening to the podcast. And it's just one of those things when you start listening to podcasts, you guys are familiar with like all the different networks. Mm-hmm. You start to just feel like you know the people, start to treat them, react to them differently, care about what's going on. Mm-hmm. And so I've kind of been involved in watching Rooster Teeth content since then. And so they're here, and I was like, you know what, let me see what's going on at Rooster Teeth. That's a company that I've been, involved with for, it seemed like 10 years of my life at that point. And so I kind of did the same thing with them. I went and found out who all the people that currently held the jobs that I wanted were. Mm-hmm. And I tried to go back and listen to podcasts with them talking about their jobs. Quite a lot of like legwork, a lot of listening to lots of podcasts. And kind of you kind of put pieces together, and you're like, okay, there's these 5 people that I kind of need to impress. I mean, gussy up my portfolio again, make a new website, prove that I know Rooster Teeth, and kind of put myself out there. And the timing was good, and Rooster Teeth had just been recently acquired by a larger company called Fullscreen. So they were building out Rooster Teeth to be a bigger, better, broader company to reach a bigger audience. And so they brought me on pretty quickly. Almost immediately. I kind of have had pretty good luck, I'll say, with jobs.
Yeah, that's important too. Like just being at the right place at the right time and talking to the right person. But it seems like you gave your luck a really good chance by doing your research and actually putting your stuff out there in front of them. And I think that's smart. I think a lot of creative people just kind of lay back and post stuff and just hope they get discovered by something. Yeah. So your proactive approach was, in my mind, incredibly smart and incredibly well strategized.
Yeah, that's the biggest advice everyone always, like when we're interviewing people at any jobs and when we're giving design panels, people are always wondering like, I want to work at company X. Usually it's, I want to work at Rooster Teeth, or I'm really passionate about this. How do you go about getting a job? And like the answer to, and it works in other disciplines also. I want to be a designer. How do I get a job? And it's create. It doesn't matter if you're working for Rooster Teeth right now. Create content that you like, that you're good at, and it'll show that you're passionate about that thing. And then when the opportunity arises, you just kind of step to the side and stay in stream, and you're there. Whereas other people, like you were saying, people put things out there into the world and they're like, oh, I hope somebody notices this. Oh, I'm going to tag this person on Twitter and hope that they offer me a job or offer to buy this piece of art. And it's if you just keep on trying for that one thing, you're going to be disappointed if you don't get it. If you do something that you're passionate about, you're going to be happy you're creating. So you create a body of work that kind of gets you the job that you want.
That's really good advice.
I agree. That's very good. Yeah. So, okay. So we're at Rooster Teeth, so we've come current. So the stuff that you do for Rooster Teeth, in being kind of in charge of all the product or merch design, as you called it. So, kind of thinking of their animated things. Are you in the process of like creating like toys of the animated characters
that you're allowed
or T-shirts?
To talk about?
Yeah, obviously the things you're allowed to talk about. But like, what does that look like in like a practical sense? Like, what kind of merch are you involved in designing?
So the animated shows that we have a huge animation team at Rooster Teeth, and they're very good at what they do. And they're very, rightly so, protective of their licenses, just like anyone else. And that's kind of another reason I kind of flowed into working at Rooster Teeth, is because I've been working with licensed brands for so long, treating them as licensed brands as opposed to treating them like an in-house company. So the team that works on Ruby, which is one of our biggest shows, our anime show, they own their characters. If they want to make a shirt, I work directly with them. I ask them what they want. I can pitch them things, but I kind of treat it, a character on Ruby like it was Mickey Mouse. Like,
okay,
I know that Mickey can't be facing this direction, or Mickey can't be holding this because that's not on character for Mickey. So I treat all the characters with animation like that. So everything in animation gets thoroughly vetted by the animators, because they put their blood, sweat, and tears into their shows, and they want the merchandise to reflect their shows. So when we work on something with them, we'll have big meetings with all the animators. They'll show us things that are coming up, in-world items. So if like, oh, this character is going to be wearing this hat later this season, we should make a hat. That way people that want to wear the in-world hat can wear that hat. So there's certain things that kind of build themselves out backwards from the animation team. There's certain things that you react to, certain trends that you'll react to where it's, I hate to use fidget spinners, but like there's a certain thing where like, oh, we got to do this thing that's hot right now. What brand do we have that fits that? And then there's a lot of back and forth between my design team, my merch team, and animation, where we go out and see what else is in our space. What other, like, for example, Ruby, what other products are anime shows making? And for like some of our other shows, like we have a show called Camp Camp, a 2D show. Look at like other shows that are like it that are on Adult Swim or Cartoon Network. What kind of merch are people reacting to? What is working with all of them? And you kind of fit into that space because we're an independent company for all intents and purposes. We're not on a major network. We're kind of putting stuff out on our own. So we're kind of reacting to the larger trends and trying to see which trends we can set. And kind of reacting to our fans and our community, because Rooster Teeth has a super strong community, and they're very vocal, and in a good way. And they will tell you what they want, and they will tell you what doesn't work, and they will kind of put you on the right path to creating stuff that they like and that I like working on.
Yeah, absolutely. And if Josh's room/studio that we're in right now is any testament to it, your fans will buy Rooster Teeth merchandise.
Just a couple things.
This room is full of them, and Josh is wearing a Rooster Teeth shirt as we record.
Yeah.
So
solidarity, man.
Yeah, I did send you a package. It sounds like a line, but it is lost in the mail. I have a case number open with USPS tracking down a merch box, because like anyone's work, your office gets filled with the stuff that you're working on. So when we're working on shirts or toys or socks, we get a sample set from the vendor. So I get like 5 or 6 of a shirt. We all approve the colors, and that looks good, and we set it off to the side. And then the office becomes a clutter. It looks like a hoarder's office of stuff. So you just clear out the thing. So I did pack you a fun box of Rooster Teeth goodies, and I will find it, and it will make its way to you at some point.
That's awesome.
And
so yeah,
I will make videos of the unboxing.
Nice.
Yeah, part of my D23 trip was hitting all the gift shops, because Disney does merch right. They have a very, very, very rabid fan base for merch. They're also very vocal, and they hit every category. So if we're getting in, we have a lot of vinyl toys for some of our brands. Getting into Disney's always kind of reacted to the trend before we got to it. They figured it out. They've monetized it. They've figured out blind boxing. They figured out how to get people to buy more of things. So you kind of just are wanting to ride in the wake of Disney's ideation of things. And so I did a lot of that, a lot of pictures of all the gift shops and at D23. That was another half of my trip that I did when I was walking around by myself.
Were you able to get into the main gift stop, the Disney store? That 17-hour wait one?
Oh yeah, I got in all 3. Show the Dream store, the Mickey's of Glendale, and the Disney store. I figured I got those store fast passes. I was able to get in 2 days, and the third one
that first day when we all went in and you guys bolted over to the Gravity Falls panel, I think, Tony, you went right to get a store pass, right?
Yeah, because that's the merch buyer in me and the merch creator. I got a store pass for one store, and then went and got in line for the second store.
That's awesome.
Just same theory as park hopping. You get a fast pass for one ride, get in line for the next one. So yeah, the first day was half spending all my money and taking pictures of all the things I could not buy. It was great.
Nice. I just thought about that since you just talked about the Gravity Falls. Never mind. I won't talk about it.
Okay.
I was like, oh, it would be cool if we did like the Gravity Falls and the Star Journals and stuff that they have. Do like a camp journal that's like the camp yearbook type thing, or the camp survival guide.
Yeah, the books are popular right now.
Especially like the Gravity Falls journal.
Yeah,
like they did the main release, which sold out. They had to do a second printing, and then they did the $100 special edition one that Alex Hirsch signed, and has black light, invisible ink, all kinds of stuff in it.
Right.
And I'm like, and they made 1,000 of those, sold out like hotcakes.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, geez.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing we take. We see what they're doing and what's the version of that. Because we have a much smaller fan base than they do, so we have to scale everything down to a certain extent. But that's exactly how it'll work. Is you'll see an item, you're like, you know what, that would work for this brand, and I have to go pitch it. Mm-hmm. So that was a pitch. That was your pitch right there.
That was my pitch.
I'm literally writing it down.
Nice.
So and if you need pictures of any of the Gravity Falls stuff, let me know and I can send you my copy. So that way you can flip through it and look at it and all that jazz. So that way you don't have to buy a $30 book.
I'll expense it. I'll make
nice.
Now Tony, just going off. Now I'm curious. What type of merch have you designed? Like what are some of your favorites? Because now I'm interested to know if I have any of it.
So Rooster Teeth. So I guess I skipped over the beginning of Rooster Teeth. So when I first was hired, my job was marketing designer. So the position that was available was they were creating a position essentially on the marketing team, which was making social media graphics, YouTube headers, Facebook ads, banner ads, and it extended into making booth designs for when Rooster Teeth has a booth at Comic-Con or PAX or our own convention, RTX. I would design the booths. It was kind of a catch-all position it was almost everything but product at the beginning. And I kind of explained my product background when we were getting hired, and they said, doesn't matter, that's all valid, you're a Rooster Teeth fan, you get the brands, you're a talented designer, you'll figure out that. And that was, so for the first, I guess it was 9 months or so I was there, I was a marketing designer, and I would walk over to the merch team, and I would still pitch merch. I designed some shirts at the beginning that, like my first one that they used, which I didn't think that they were going to use, was the Stranger Things. Everyone was doing a take on Stranger, just in everybody's zeitgeist. And so we did a Rooster Teeth Stranger Things logo, and I got fascinated with the designer of the Stranger Things logo and watched a little 5-minute video about the typeface that he used and how he did it. And I stayed up doing that, and I tweeted it. And then John Reisinger, the lead designer at the time, was like, why'd you tweet that? Let's make that a shirt. Delete the tweet. We're making it a shirt. So I kind of reacted. It was one of those things where you react to what's going on. And you see how fast you can turn a shirt around. Cool. So that was kind of dipping my toe in merch there. And then once they saw that I was super interested in merch, they kept pitching things to me. And the first thing that was my big project was we have a subscription box, kind of like a loot crate that we have, that we do, called the Double Gold, the RT box.
Nice.
And it's a monthly box full of exclusive merch from Rooster Teeth, about Rooster Teeth shows. And they kind of said, you want to start heading this up, designing stuff that goes in this box? And I said, yes, let's do that. So I was the marketing designer and then the merch box designer. And then they were like, okay, we're going to hire another marketing designer and move you over to be the lead consumer products guy. Do more merch. So I did start off, a majority of the time that I've still been there was more marketing design. But I've hit the ground running on the other side, doing shirts now. So a lot of my stuff will come out Q4 this year, a lot of holiday stuff.
Okay, cool.
I just had a bunch of stuff that launched today, actually. Some Ruby shirts and
like the John one.
Yeah, the John and the Ren and Nora.
All the Junipers. Gavin doesn't know them.
Is that from Ruby?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've only seen season 1 so far of Ruby.
Gotta stick with
it. Yeah, that's what I hear. So
it's one of those. I'll get to it. Stereotypical thing everyone says about every show that it doesn't get good till season X, and like, no, it's great.
Nice. What kinds of you said early on in the podcast that you became a huge Disney nerd at one point. I assume you love Disney animation. What are the kind of Disney things that inspired you? Like, what are your favorite Disney animations? Hold on, I'll reveal my age. I was born in 1982. So my cartoon watching happened in the late 1980s, early 1990s. Got it.
So I think at that time, my wheelhouse was Robin Hood, Peter Pan.
Nice.
Jungle Book. Like those are my 3 biggest rotation movies from when I was younger of that era. Cool. I hit everything. Everybody bought the 90s clamshell VHSs, and everything was on repeat back then. But I mean, Peter Pan and Robin Hood are the 2 that have stuck with me as far as Disney animation that kind of influenced the kind of lifestyle. Like I have my license plate is Second Star. I'm a full-blown Disney nerd.
That is awesome.
And on TV, it was kind of the late 80s, early 90s when Disney Afternoon started hitting you with the DuckTales, Tailspin, Gummy Bears, all of that. So all of that
Gargoyles,
Disney stuff.
All that good stuff.
That's more Josh's era.
Yeah, I was the Gargoyles, Kim Possible era. I was a little bit
later even. Yeah. So, are you excited about the new DuckTales?
I am. I will be. It's one of those. There's so many TV shows now and so many things on. I get excited about something that gets tweeted out daily, and then something else supplants it the next day. And I'm like, oh, they're doing that too. Okay. And I almost forget how excited I am about DuckTales until they keep hitting you over the head. Like, oh, I see another promo where at D23 I got to jump into Scrooge's Money Bin, which was crazy. So I know that I will be once I get knee deep into it again. But it's hard to maintain any level of excitement for things now unless it's something like Game of Thrones or Stranger Things that you just can't escape. There's something new announced every day, and you're like, I can't believe they're making one of those. Like, okay, but I will be excited.
Sweet,
nice. Well, it is to date this podcast. It is tomorrow all day on Disney XD. They're doing an all-day marathon, 24 hours.
So what does that mean? They're just replaying the episode back to back?
It's the 1 hour episode, and they're playing it 24 times.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's
so
pretty,
you can't miss
pretty
it.
Cool. It's exactly. They're one of those like, don't miss this, but it's okay. You can miss this one. It'll be back.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And they have the bandwidth to do that because they have multiple Disney channels. So even running one show on that, they got Disney Junior, Disney XD, the Disney Channel. They can afford one channel.
Exactly. Like, we can afford One Day Without Star vs. The Forces of Evil and Kick Buttowski. So we can skip one day. I don't even think Kick Buttowski's on anymore.
I have no idea.
That's all right.
I never watched that show.
Don't worry about it. They stopped doing Kim Possible, so
you're
the whole
out.
channel's ruined.
That's hilarious. So do you often watch other animated things? Are you also into anime
non-Disney
or
animated stuff?
Non-Disney. Well, aside from things, I have a daughter that's about to be 5, so I see a lot of just TV that she's into, which is not always, it's animated stuff. It's not animated for adults usually, so there's a lot of Disney Junior and Nick Jr. shows. So that's kind of the bulk of that. On my own, like everyone else currently, it's Rick and Morty holds the throne as far as shows that I watch right now. The writing is so brilliant on that show. So brilliant. So that's kind of, and I watch a lot of the shows that I watched when I was that age. Like I just recently found a place to watch all of the old episodes of Captain N and the Game Master, an old Nintendo show. I don't know if either of you ever watched that.
Wow, no, I've never heard of that one.
That's over me.
It was So there was an animated block of shows that was like the Super Mario Brothers Super Show, and Legend of Zelda, and Captain N and the Game Master. And Captain N was like a high school kid with a Letterman jacket and the Nintendo Zapper, and he would go and like the bad guy in that show was Mother Brain from Metroid, and King Hippo from Punch Out.
Wow! And
he would be on team with Icarus from Kid Icarus. And it was just a mashup of Nintendo stuff, and then it was. So I'm recently refinding all of those, and I'm kind of, it's a risky maneuver to go back and watch things that you have fond memories of, because you could easily destroy that. And I'm kind of a sucker for kitsch like that, so I'm really enjoying it. So I'm kind of trying to go back and find those things again. Because there are certain shows that I watched probably whole runs of in the late 80s that I have no memories of. So I would like to go back and find like Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, something like that, where I was like, I know that I watched this show. I can tell you nothing about it. So I'm kind of wallowing in my past right now as opposed to looking forward.
That's what this whole podcast is about.
Pretty much is, yeah.
It's about We do some new stuff, but it's the majority of the
it
past.
is. Let's go back and talk about this old thing we
Join
loved
us, if
when
you
we were
will, as
little.
we go back in time.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Okay, so Tony, your age is kind of right between Josh and I. So here's
between
here's
28 and 67. So
Right.
you're like right in that middle gap.
Exactly.
Sweet
So
spot.
here's like a generational question, and I'm interested to know which side of this you fall on: Simpsons or Family Guy?
Simpsons.
Yes.
Why would you even ask that question?
That's a great question.
Or
It's a
appropriate
generational
one is
dividing line.
neither.
No,
No, nobody's neither.
I know.
That's like
Yeah.
the
Josh kind of is.
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. You only bought 2 bars. Nobody bought 2 bars. You watched one of those shows.
Exactly. Exactly.
I was a King of the Hill boy.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I
I
always
was
forget
a
about
King of the Hill
Hill.
and Futurama boy. That was my jam. Because
Okay.
it was weird because my mom wouldn't let me watch The Simpsons because it was too crass, but she was okay with Futurama
'Cause it was
because it was
sci-fi.
space and sci-fi. So it was like, and that's our family was a sci-fi family. So it was like, yeah, you can watch Futurama. Way worse.
Yeah.
Way worse.
I guess
That's
you're
hilarious.
close enough to Texas because there's a lot of King of the Hill jokes that are very, very specifically
Very
Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I always
didn't
wondered
get
watching
it.
that show if someone watching it in like on the East Coast would like it was very popular, but I was like, is that funny to someone that's not this close to that doesn't know those people personally?
Yeah, until I lived in Dallas, which I lived there for about 5 years, 6 years. There was a lot of that show that I was like, this is probably funny for people who know what they're talking about, but there's a lot of it that I was like, okay, I guess that's accurate. I don't know.
And like growing up, like our main vacation area was Texas because like Dallas, it's only 3 hours away.
Right.
And like there's that one episode, like there's the episode of King of the Hill that I kind of talked with you a little bit
Oh,
about,
yeah.
where
With our
they go to
Cowboy
like
Stadium.
Dallas Cowboys training camp, and Hank goes to the gas station, and it's the dude who's like, we're only 15 minutes away from the great state of Oklahoma, and he starts singing Boomer Sooner, and I'm like, nobody gets this unless you're in one of these two connecting states.
Right.
No one understands.
That's awesome.
All right, so Tony, where can all of our wonderful listeners find your work?
So I do have a website. It's just my name, TonySimonetta.com. It's kind of a portfolio website that is, as most designers will always tell you, it's never updated. But it does have a smattering of my work, and so a lot of my 28 in Maine, a lot of my first March Magic round, and it'll connect you to my Twitter, and you can find my Instagram that way, because that's kind of the more current way to do it. Usually designers, if they're not looking for jobs, it's hard to convince them to rebrand themselves and redo their websites. There's not very many Tony Simonettas on the internet, so hopefully you can find me pretty easily. There's another Tony Simonetta that's like a CEO of a company in Pennsylvania, not me. And then there's one that got all the good Twitter handles before me. He's younger than me. Also, I'm easy to find though. You can put my name in the show notes or in the
Yeah, we're gonna put
Actual
all of your stuff in the show notes, your links and everything. I don't know if that's available. I don't know if Stitcher people and like Android users can do that. I know it's available on iTunes where you can just click on everything from the description, but I don't know the other ones. But I will put all the links and everything in there, and the links will be on our website as well on that episode.
Yep.
answer.
Gavin, where can everybody find you?
Well, everybody can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Gavin Otteson Art, and on my non-updated under construction website, GavinOttesonArt.com. It's actually under construction because it's brand new, but it's getting close. Nearly finished with it. Yeah. How about you?
You should do a little like construction art piece.
I thought about doing that,
on
but that's very like 1998 website. Like they all used
the
to
little
have that
yellow
little construction
hazard sign guy.
Yeah,
But
Construction guy, yes.
yours could be cars.
it could be. I could
You
have
could-
a
you
little
could
cozy
draw
cone
the-
motel kind of under
Yeah,
construction.
and you can somehow show how the
can have-
cars managed to make buildings.
I know.
Fix It
it's
Felix.
The question.
Oh, that would be good.
Ooh, Fix It Felix is a good one
You
too.
could do Bob the Builder.
Oh my gosh, so many
Bob
options.
the Builder, Handy Mandy, Fix It Felix, just all comboed. That'd be pretty cool.
Have you seen the new Bob the Builder?
Uh-uh.
I didn't know they
So
changed
you guys
it.
are way out of this part of animation. There's a more realistic face. Google it. It's very strange and creepy.
Weird.
It's that weird uncanny valley now, where Bob the Builder used to be like clearly an animated character.
Uh-huh.
Now they've Gus eat him up, and it's a little bit too creepy.
So it's all
oh my
CG?
gosh, good lord.
Josh is
Very
pulling it up
strange.
now. Let me look, and you tell everybody where they can find you.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram. Your eyes.
Oh my gosh.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Josh L. Kane, and you can find the podcast on Instagram at Animation Station Podcast.
On Twitter at Animate Podcast.
On Tumblr at Animation Station Podcast.
On Facebook, Animation Station Podcast.
On our website, animationstationpodcast.com, which is fully updated.
Yes.
You can also find all of our episodes on iTunes, Stitcher, and on our website. If you go to the podcast tab, you can find all of our episodes there as well.
Yep.
I can tell you that they did that back and forth with no rehearsal. That's like genuine chemistry that happened live.
It's one of the first times that's actually worked on the first try.
I just want to confirm there were no cuts.
Yep.
There was
one take. No cuts on that one. Well, hey, thanks for coming on, Tony. It was great to chat with you again. It's only been 3-4 weeks since we met you, and hung out with you for a weekend, and it has. It's been too long, so I'm glad we got a chance to chat and catch up.
Yes, and I'll have to bring you guys. Maybe that'll be my next return on the show. We'll talk about kids show, Nick Jr., Disney Jr., the animated shows you guys are not watching.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
have a more intimate knowledge of. There's a lot going on in the world of toddler TV.
Hey man, Doc McStuffins is pretty high up there.
Yeah, Doc McStuffins, I believe, has had a same-sex couple.
Yeah, they did. Wanda Sykes and
Portia.
Portia is it
DeRossi?
DeRossi?
Yeah. So there's a whole treasure trove of kids programming that maybe needs to be discussed. I'll do some homework.
That would be awesome. Yeah,
fun,
let's do that. We'll make a plan for that.
Now, Tony, before we go, do you have any words of encouragement and wisdom for any young artists out there that are trying to break into, I don't know, something?
Make stuff.
Make stuff.
Just make stuff. Don't focus on a very specific goal that you're trying to get to. Pin that on the board and look at it, but it's really make stuff. Like make something that you're passionate about. Like if you were trying to get a job at Burger King, like I want to be a Burger King wrapper designer. You're not going to go right out of the gate and jump right into designing Whopper wrappers. So make something that is in that realm that you're excited about and get Burger King to notice you. That was the worst possible.
No, because you were saying that, and I was like, someone needs to redesign the Jack in the Box taco wrappers. So you go from Jack in the Box taco wrappers to burger.
Yeah, because we get a lot of people asking like, "Oh, I want to edit videos for your channel," and it's just make your own channel, make your own videos, edit them, get better, and when the chance is ready, when there's an opening at what you're trying to get in, you just kind of casually slide into the opening, as opposed to trying to force your way in. It works. Just make stuff.
Awesome.
That's what I'm doing.
Excellent advice.
All right. That was a good episode. Thanks so much for coming on, Tony.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you guys for letting me kind of get on here. And I want to do it some more. I kind of miss all the idle chat in the lines for D23, so this is kind of virtual line chat.
Awesome.
All right. So for the Animation Station podcast, I'm Josh.
I'm Gavin.
And I'm Tony. Yay.
Nice.
All right. Bye-bye, little butterfly.
Made you look.
Tony, do you have a catchphrase?
I do not.
Say make stuff.
Make stuff.
Yay!
Yes!
Thank you for listening to the Animation Station Podcast. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Animation Station Podcast. Follow us on Twitter at Animate Podcast. Subscribe to us on iTunes. And join the conversation at SecretSuperheroClub.com, where you can connect with our podcast friends, Cloud City Cast, Getting Into Comics, and Shaun of the Gathering.
So, question: what's up with all the Sour Patch Kids and the Seven Stick stuff? What is all that?
So I'm a big fan of new and exciting snacky foods, junk food.
Oh, the snacks! Yeah.
Hold on. What did you think I said?
You said Sour Patch Kids, and in my mind, I pictured Garbage Pail Kids, and I was like, "Is Tony designing Garbage Pail Kids? I gotta see this."
They're bringing Garbage Pail Kids back.
That would be amazing.
Garbage Pail Kids and Pogs. They're bringing them back.
I am trying to bring Pogs back. I will say that.
Dude, my brother had the biggest collection of Pogs. He was a Pog bully, man. He would come home with 100 new Pogs from school every day.
Dude, that's mean.
Dude, yeah, because he was a you win it, there's no give backs kind of guy.
He was like a racing for pink slips guy.
Yeah. What you win, you keep, and he was good.
Oof.
Is there skill? I don't know. I think he just had a bigger, what do they call, bomber
Slammer.
or whatever.
Slammer.
Yeah. I think he had a bigger slammer than anybody else, so
Yeah, that's how you
it gave
win.
him the advantage. Yeah.
And then, so he was living high. He had millions in Pogs until that Pogs market, just like the Beanie Babies market, just crashes, and they're all worthless.
Exactly.
And then you're like, I have all these Pogs, and now they're a fire hazard.
Now he's still waiting for that market correction.
Just waiting for the resurgence.
Pog market correction.
See, what needs to happen is Hasbro, like with, G.I. Joe and Transformers and My Little Pony, they need to make a show about Pogs.
Oh, gosh.
And then the value will skyrocket. But there'll be new Pogs. They'll be designed differently.
Yeah.
Someone get Hasbro on the horn. We'll make...
That's a challenging show to make. A Pogs TV
You say
show.
that, but there are entire shows based on battle tops and like...
Yeah, man. If you make it like
Beyblade
Beyblade or Yu-Gi-Oh! Something like that, you can make a Pogs.
Huh. Hey, there's your ticket, man. Write up a treatment and pitch it. Send it to every studio.
We'll make Pogs the animated series. Let's do that. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Jeez. Garbage. Garbage.
Nice.
Okay. Gonna go clap in. Un, deux, trois. Well, let's not do French anymore. Let's go eins, zwei, drei. Yeah, eins, zwei, drei.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
There we go. You didn't even know. What language was that?
That was German.
German?
Okay, you got it.
I watched Cool Runnings.
Amazing. I saw something the other day. I think it was on Instagram. And when that movie came out, in its day, it was the highest grossing Disney live action movie of all time.
Really?
That movie was a huge hit for one summer.
Yeah, I don't know anyone that is of my age group that has not seen it.
Mm-hmm. Huh. Yeah. It was a
That's
big
one
hit.
or is intimately familiar with it. Everybody can quote it.
Mm-hmm.
Fun bit of not trivia. The movie Eddie the Eagle with Hugh Jackman and
The ski jumping
Taron
movie?
Egerton. Yeah, the ski jumping movie.
Uh-huh.
Did not know, but that's the exact same Winter Olympics as the Cool Running bit.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Like they were talking about that, and they had the little preview thing on TV,
Uh-huh.
on the TV in the movie, and they were like, "Yeah, the Jamaican bobsled team," and I was like, "Really? What?" And I was like, "Oh, that's the same time? Holy crap!"
Wow.
I think that's trivia. Why is that not trivia? You're selling yourself short. That's definitely trivia.
It's
Yeah.
not animation trivia.
Oh.
Well, either was Cool Runnings, but whatever.
No, they made Cool Runnings the animated series.
I don't think they did.
I'm sure there's a Cool Runnings Pog out there
Oh, there probably
for
is.
the Pog anime.
Full circle.
Yeah, you have to tune into the end to find out about
All right,
that.
so we've descended into delirium here.
Yeah.